First of all, I want to say thank you for having me. My name's David Keys. I am one of the finalists. I'm originally from Louisiana, very small town, and so even to probably be up here and be considered as a candidate, I know my parents don't want me to move up here, but I'm hoping I've done them proud. In both of my stops in local government, one in Natchitoches Parish and one in the city of Duncanville, just south of the Dallas area, I have been in charge of the social media, sending out press releases, communicating with the stakeholders in the formal way. Then, of course, a lot of cities do the other formal way of a community town hall, bring people into the chambers or bring them to another city facility, and you do a town hall to ask questions about the budget. Then we put the budget out and we put the ACFR out, but then we also had a public one that we did in Duncanville that kind of broke down those financial statements to a more digestible way so that we could send them out to the community and have people actually not have to read a 200-page ACFR. I made it through about 100 of the 200 pages. I got close on my knots, but halfway. Dave disagrees. He thinks I should have made it to at least 125. But reading that's tough. If you're not a fan of that kind of information and really love digging into it as a member of the public who's very busy, maybe is running a business or has your own job that you have to go through every day and then come to City Hall and trying to figure out what we're doing over here, it's not your full-time job. We need to try and make that information as accessible as possible.
All right, man.
That was the third finalist in the Minot City manager race, David Keys, introducing himself, so we didn't have to.
Absolutely. We obviously did interviews with Tom Joyce. That was just released.
Yep.
We did an interview with finance director. We didn't realize he was everything that was going to go down at the time.
I know, David Lakefield. That was a few months ago now, yeah.
Yep. So we'll definitely have to have him back on. And then, of course, that was David Keys, the 3 finalists.
That's it.
We're going to find out tonight who's going to be selected.
We've got a special meeting coming up tonight.
4:30.
Yeah, I was going to say it's at 4:30 tonight.
Absolutely.
That's the only thing on the agenda, I think? Or was there something else on there?
I believe that's the only thing.
It's going to be a good fight. Oh, well, I guess if it was a good meeting that they had on Tuesday. They asked, I think, 7 total questions to the 3 candidates. Each of them got like about 3 minutes a pop to answer each question. Mm-hmm. It went very well. A couple key phrases and things I saw in there. Teamwork, communication, transparency. Those came from all 3 of them. They were very similar in a lot of their answers. All 3 candidates, I think, came off very well. David Keys, knowing absolutely nothing about him going in, I thought he did phenomenal. Tom Joyce, obviously the interim city manager right now, I think he did a great job as well, showed this personable side. And then you have David Lakefield, the current city finance director, who is a wealth of knowledge as always, and came off extremely strong as well.
Right. And like you said, those 3 themes were very prominent.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good job. City did a good job on this. So kudos for that.
Mayor Mark Janser was the moderator.
Yeah, he was. So be interesting to see who they're going to pick, though.
Yeah, that's going to be the interesting part. I have no insight on it. We have no pure gut feeling on this one, and
yeah, I honestly don't know. And my gut is torn.
Mm-hmm.
Like somebody says, maybe Tom Joyce. This is where I'm at on it.
Mm-hmm.
So I love Tom Joyce. I love Dave Lakefield. We've said great things about both of them. And then you have David Keys, who I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It sounded like he would be qualified. It sounded like qualified is a strong word. It sounded like he could do the job.
Yeah.
Well, it might be a stretch qualification. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
People above my pay grade know that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it felt like he would be able to figure it out based off his experience, and it might take a little bit of transition period.
Yep.
Especially because he's from out of town. But when you have Tom Joyce and Dave Lakefield, the deal is, let's just be honest. Tom Joyce is the one that makes sense because you got somebody in the assistant city manager role. They would just go up to city manager. You would hire a new assistant city manager. There's not much in the org chart that would change.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Lakefield, who is qualified and who knows the city as much as anything, if he was transferred into that role, there's a huge hole that is then gaping over there in finance that they're going to have to fill. And Jenna, who's we've seen her appearances at city council, probably is getting close to being ready. Potentially, I don't know. Again, we're not in their organization. So those are thoughts just from an organizational standpoint. That's not even talking about like based off the actual interviews and conversations that were had all day on Tuesday.
Yeah, I organizationally, I think you make a great point on that.
I want to be very clear. That's only what we're talking about right there.
Yeah.
Not talking about, it's tough to decide between Tom and David, but keep going.
No, I was, because again, I'm on that same boat. Between the two, I have, obviously coming into this whole situation before anyone was announced, we were all on board the Tom Joyce bandwagon. And when we saw David Lakefield was that one of the 3 finalists, that put a kink in the hose for sure for me. Like, I genuinely am not sure who I would have a preference over, one of the either. They're both extremely good at what they do. Lakefield's been around Minot a little longer. He might know a little bit more of the intricacies of the city, but Tom Joyce has been doing the role he's been in for about 2 months now, and on top of that, he was the assistant city manager for a year and a half prior to that. So he knows specifically what the city manager role is going to entail a lot more. And again, David might have a little bit more insight into some of the city stuff, but it's not going to be a ton. And then you have, again, David Keys, who came off very well, did a great job, in my opinion, on his whole process of this situation. I really wanted to stress that, again, communication and transparency were like the 2 main points of this entire thing.
There was a lot of it.
And I don't know who I would prefer. I don't think from what I took away from that interview process, I don't think you could go wrong with any of them.
That's what it felt like.
I think, again, just personal bias, I think keep it local with this one. And Lakefield or Joyce is probably going to be my pick. But again, I don't know between either of them who I would favor fully.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't know either. If you have comments on that, let us know. Of course, we're going to be jumping into the Dunseith Debacle. We have a lot to talk about today. We'll be jumping into the Dunseith Debacle. We'll be talking about full-time mayors.
Yeah,
and
that's coming up too.
Interesting thing that might be taking North Dakota by storm now. So it's interesting to see that happen. A lot of fantastic things on the agenda today.
Yeah, the Attorney General had some interesting comments a couple days ago out in Fargo. Got some fun stuff to go over. And so, final thoughts on the city manager search tonight. Obviously, again, 4:30, going to have a final decision made. They pick between the 3. Then right immediately after that, they go into an executive session to do final negotiations on the contract. And then obviously it's over, and we have to wait until Monday for the full, which that's actually, I guess that's probably why they're doing it now. So we can come Monday with that regular meeting on October 6th. We can have a settled, fully ready to go city manager at that point. That's my thoughts on that anyways. Why not? Because otherwise, initially I was thinking, why not just wait till Monday and do it then? Right. But I think having them prepped over the weekend is probably a good call.
I'm curious, do you think Keys is still here?
I would imagine he's still probably
I was curious if that wasn't part of it too.
I guess that's fair.
I have no idea. Again, speculation.
Yeah, purely speculative right now. I bet that if they knew for a fact he wasn't going to get it, which I think that's probably a little bit of a no-no, they might let him know so he can bail out of here earlier. But also, I don't know if you can even do that. So it's probably one of those things you got to wait for everybody. Get him this way. If he's here, you're putting him up in town for the couple days. Get it over with. Get it finalized. You can send him home if he gets it. If he doesn't get it, if he does get it, now you have time to prep, turn around, and get ready for next week.
So there you go.
Yeah.
That's a lot of speculation on that.
Purely, yeah. And I didn't even give you my speculative pick on it.
All right, give us a speculative. I don't know. I didn't give one either. I don't really want to.
I have no idea, genuinely.
Really want to. So
expect them, whoever they pick tonight, to be up at the dais on Monday, though. I'll say that.
Really? Even if it's Keys?
I think yeah, why not? He'll be here Monday.
All right. So are we shaving our head for that one too?
No, not even a chance.
See, and that was the most disappointing part of the whole interview process for me, is that if you haven't watched our interview with interim city manager Tom Joyce, be sure to go ahead and do that, because in there's a gold mine. There's this, or gold nugget would be more correctly called.
A little trove there.
That if we get this citizen satisfaction survey, if we get it to 1,000 submissions, then he will take a pie in the face. That's
going
big.
to be
Because it's gonna be neat. Because in this video, we're gonna have Kyler sitting in one chair. He's getting his head shaved, and the next chair, Tom Joyce is getting a pie in the face. Kyler getting his head shaved because the Padres and Mariners end up in the World Series.
the likelihood that would be a complete altercation to any historical precedent. So if that happens,
Padres one win closer after last night. Not a Padres fan, but right now I am.
not remotely worried until both of them are in the championship series. Then I might have a little sweat going on my brow.
Do you think the Padres beat the Cubs? They play tonight, or is it? Do they get an off day now?
Is it game 2 or game 3?
Game 3.
And they get an off day.
So it's off day tonight, and then
Yep.
game 3 tomorrow.
Yep, should be. Yeah, because there's no baseball today, period. I saw that. So just
Okay.
Thursday night football tonight. So,
Okay.
yep, they're going to be off, and game 3 tomorrow. Or
Game
maybe
3
even
tomorrow,
Saturday.
dude.
I got all
Go
the...
Padres.
I like both these teams, and I would be fine with either of them winning the World Series, but I just don't see both of them getting there.
Yeah, it's gonna be good when they are. Anyways,
Back to the real
so
stuff at hand.
Sherry mentions with David Keys, you're wrong. He already left. Very next day, he
Oh,
left.
look at that.
Gone.
He's gone.
Yeah, our spy at the city didn't get us good information.
Yeah.
We gotta get a new spy. We don't have any spies at the city.
Oh, they're
This
over
guy-
there. I see.
This guy is waking up.
He's got
It's been a
new
rough night.
thing.
All right, so very fantastic there. That is what's going on with city stuff.
Do you want to do a little preview of next Monday's city council?
Yeah, there's a budget and local preference for contractors. I think those are the two big things.
Yeah. And there's
Also, some stuff with a hospital.
yeah, that is, yeah. I think the one big thing that I'm noticing just looking at it right now is that local preference bidding policy coming up. It's submitted without a recommendation from staff, so it's fully up to the council to determine what way they go from there.
Yeah.
I think that is my one big one looking here, just off the level. And then there's a sales tax ordinance as well, an amendment for property tax relief. So probably changing that half cent and reworking that into more property tax relief, I would assume is how that's going to work. So make sure you be following along for next Monday and next Tuesday as city council meeting takes place, and then we break it all down on Tuesday following.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Without
So
a doubt. Where do you want to go from here? You want to go up to Fargo or you want to go up to Dunseith?
let's go to Dunseith.
Dunseith? All right. Well,
Yeah.
you had a busy day yesterday
Yeah.
with doing some interviews with Mr. Charles Hofer.
Yeah, Hofer was here in studio.
Yep.
We released one of those interviews late last night. We released that one differently. So we did a whole different format. Shorter interview, trying to tell the story better, and released it directly to Facebook, or natively to Facebook, Twitter, X, YouTube. So you can watch it on whatever platform that you prefer, but always love that follow, always love that subscribe. It helps us stay motivated around here. But yeah, long day of shooting. We have another episode that's going to release today, and then another episode that will release tomorrow. So we have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of episode releases. The conversation surrounded an update on that $1.89 billion lawsuit that the state has now chose to defend the defendants in.
Yep.
And then also a treasure trove of new records that were found, but this was not found in some dark box somewhere where people are unsure if they could believe these or not. These are
Public records.
public records that had been released to reporters. So it's weird to say new treasure trove because perhaps the whole time they could have been found.
We have just been.
Yeah, we just got our hands on them.
Yep.
And come to find out there was reporters that had them for a while, which is an interesting thing because there's a dialogue that is trying to be made that perhaps reporters should have done a better job with that. I don't know. Maybe they should have, maybe they shouldn't have. That's a big conversation right there.
Yeah, and that's a little different from where we're at, because when you look at it, just looking at the dumps we've gotten here and starting to go through a lot of, because so much of it is email chains, and trying to decipher and discern these conversations between internal conversations between people, and whether it be Commerce, the Attorney General's office, different levels of the state government, and with Mr. Hofer himself. We've seen a lot of these from his end before that he's shared with us prior, but now we're getting more access to some of these other internal conversations that we haven't had a chance to see. It's really interesting to kind of see how a lot of these conversations were developing behind the scenes. You have people discussing saying that they need all the conversations with Mr. Hofer to be in writing. They don't want things to be off the record or over a phone call. They wanted everything to be via email. Thought that was interesting. You see a couple more things where it kind of starts to allude to maybe people having some more backdoor discussions about what's going on here. You also see a really interesting stuff about the Deputy Attorney General for the state of North Dakota, Karen Ness, discussing one thing we've talked about, to backtrack a second here. We discussed in the past that when we first brought all this situation up was a potential meeting between Mr. Hofer and the Attorney General's office that was canceled as everybody was on their way there effectively. Now, looking at an email that discusses this, it starts to look like, the meeting was a go, and then they found out specifically it was with Charles Hofer, and that's when they called it off.
And it's not like we were like, oh, it seems like they found out. No, in the email it said Mr. Hofer's going to be there, so we called it off.
Yeah. No, that's what happened.
Yeah,
and it's really interesting because there's a lot of questions that were going to be raised at that, and now to this day, almost 2 years later, there still haven't had a meeting between them, and now you're not going to at this point.
Well, you will, but
until it sees its day in court.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be with attorneys present, and definitely going to be a little different tune. Interesting, man. I don't know. It's all kind of aggravating.
It is. It's disappointing. I am by no means a phenomenal or professional journalist even at this point, but
we try.
We give it a great shot, and I love doing what we do here. But looking at the documents we were given and seeing the lack of coverage that we continue to this day to see, it's just baffling to me.
It is.
And above it all, and again, we have our own whatever here. We're the Dakotan. Jonathan and I do our darndest, but to see a lot of what we see around the state with lack of just ignoring the situation. And you can say that Hofer's full of nonsense and he's bluffing and it's all a bunch of baloney, which I don't believe it is at this stage with what we've seen.
Carla's true feelings right
here. All my opinion, not that of the Dakotan. I feel that it's just a lack of, I don't know if I don't want to say integrity, but it just feels like it's a lack of due diligence by the media in the state to not cover this. And again, you can say that he's a loon, whatever, he's a kook, but the fact that this lawsuit's been filed in federal court for $1.89 billion, which would be the largest individual lawsuit in the state of North Dakota's history.
And we barely want to talk about
and
that.
The only one you saw mention anything was the Minot Daily.
Yeah, that right there is incredible.
And I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Again, you can put it on blast saying this loon up north is trying to sue people that work for the state. But the fact that you're ignoring it still to this day, I just don't understand it at this point.
Yeah, I think probably the most interesting part about what your comments are there, people have stuff, they kind of, like what we found in journalism is that everyone kind of has their place. Mm-hmm. There's been stories that have come across our, whether people have reached out via messenger or whatever email that we've looked into briefly, and we're like, we just don't have the energy, the resources, whatever, to be able to expend into that. Mm-hmm. So we're sorry.
Yes.
And so there are stories perhaps that are actually quite big that we haven't looked into. Mm-hmm. It's not the thing here. I think the biggest deal for me personally is the ones that did decide to step into it and then just completely jumped out. I think that's the weird part for me personally, because I understand that there's going to be people that are like, no, that's just not something that we're going to pursue. Mm-hmm. Now you have state agencies, not state-ran agencies, but you have agencies that cover the state, news agencies that cover the state, that they could have had the resources to at least do something like sit on the lawsuit, because that's state news.
Yes.
You even have North Dakota Monitor who does stuff like that.
Just full disclosure, I've reached out to them twice to try to discuss this, and they've ignored me every time. So just saying. And I love the North Dakota Monitor.
Yeah, they do great work.
Just saying with that one.
So it's something that could be more covered. The lawsuit specifically, because that's not any conjecture or anything like that. That's somebody actually did do that, and it is very substantial, and it was against defendants, and the state chose to pick it up.
Yes.
Like the state did not have to step into it.
No.
And that's the news. The state chose to step into the game on this. They made that decision.
Which means if the state if the defendants are found guilty, the state would have to pay the bill for that at that point.
Yeah.
If it's maybe, they don't find the full 1.89 as the damages due, but it could still be a multi-million dollar, a 9-figure lawsuit potentially.
Yeah.
And all the way up to $2 billion. Like it's ridiculous.
And in some ways it could go higher.
Yeah.
The state may not be on the hook for the full portion of that part. But yeah.
It's really a complex subject to wrap my head around on why it's just the full ignorance of the situation is the way it is. And you made a great point when you were saying too, the people that had been covering it that now decided not to anymore. It's questionable in and of itself.
Right.
I just want to know, are they actually, maybe
Why?
they got burned out. Yeah.
Why?
I get that. I've been burned out on this thing over the summer. It is what it is. We're into it and I love it, but do they not, like, we don't have access some of these other people do to some, people up
Hey, we're working on
at high levels, but did they not want to risk losing that access for whatever reason? Like, I have no idea. I'm genuinely perplexed. And further to that too, in the emails that we've gotten in some of these document dumps, we saw other, like, it's not just the people that requested these that got these. A lot of this went to other people that are pretty notable people in North Dakota media. And you've heard not a peep from any of them. And I am, again, shocked by it, but here we are.
Marie says, ignorance is bliss. Not really. Agreed. Eventually ignorance on this topic could be regretful. She also says they were hoping it would just go away, but now that's reality. They are acknowledging something. Yeah, the state
I think
is
so
definitely
much
changing their tune on how they're approaching it for sure.
I think so much of that is fair. I think they did, or at least a lot of people thought or hoped that this would just kind of disappear on itself.
That was kind of the goal.
Or to force it to disappear.
Feel like
however
there's a
it might
concerted
be.
effort, yeah.
Yes. But here we are to this point, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Absolutely.
And on a similar note to that, something I wanted to mention on Monday or Tuesday's episode that I forgot when we had Senator Jose Castaneda on, there has been an update in the Daniel Brejo case, which of course has links to the Dunseith situation. Two things. One little preface that I don't know if we've mentioned specifically before. So the Brejo alleged murder situation took place in December of 2023. That fall, in August, September of 2023, Charles Hofer presented a complaint to state agencies. I want to say the state auditor, but don't quote me. I might be wrong on that. Detailing not just a situation, but specifically how he thought Agent Brejo was a threat and was a threatening person and should be looked into. And then you have 2-3 months later, that whole situation take place with we won't get into that whole thing right now. But now, fast forward, obviously we've covered this throughout the last few weeks here as things have progressed. The plea deal was declined. Now they have agreed on a trial date for next March.
Okay.
They haven't, I would, again, don't quote me. This is speculation at this point. I would very much assume that it's probably going to be moved from Minot, just like the Anita Knutson trial was this year. I can't imagine this will be local here in Minot just because of the sheer amount of people that knew Brejo Van Pelt in the area and now are getting familiarized with the story itself.
Right, 'cause it's drug out through the media so long.
And that's the one thing, props to a lot of these other places that are actually covering this aspect of the thing. And, it's separate but linked stories. You are getting a lot of major coverage from the Minot area on this subject. So props to them. Expect more updates on this throughout the winter. Again, I would very much expect the trial date to be switched, but Daniel Brejo on trial for aggravated murder next March.
Yeah, there you go. Big news drop right there.
Yeah, without a doubt, it's an interesting thing how this is all linked together.
Yeah.
And that's one thing we've been digging into is this just a coincidental thing where this one agent that is, potentially overly aggressive, allegedly so, that maybe just snapped into a situation and he just happens to be involved in both? Or is there more of a link between the two?
Right.
That's something that we've been discussing for months at this point and trying to look into. And I don't know for sure at this point. I think there could be more of a link between them because obviously Brejo and Van Pelt were friends. There was a relationship between them going into that situation. What happened? They had worked together. They had not just directly worked together, which they had, but they'd also worked concurrently through different agencies at different times. And I just, looking into this and hearing some things that we've heard in the situation from different aspects, from people that don't know each other and aren't connected, that share similar stories on the situation, it makes you raise a question on other things that may be going on there.
Yeah, for sure.
Without getting into too much allegations at that point.
For sure. Well, Marie says, I think Charles's demeanor and patience is why it has been able to move forward. Absolutely. He's been patient throughout it all.
Undoubtedly, if it were me, I can't imagine how I wouldn't have bailed on the situation now. So all the props to him for sticking it out. And again, you can call him a kook or a loon, but at the very least, he's got the patience of a saint.
We're going to talk about that a bit more after our break.
Commercial time.
But we're going to go away for a couple minutes, so we'll be back.
In the demanding world of oil and gas, precision, safety, and efficiency are non-negotiable. Unmanned operator drone services revolutionizes how you monitor, inspect, and manage your operations. With cutting-edge technology and expert operators, we deliver real-time data, detailed reports, and actionable insights for our valuable clients. Why risk the safety of your team or waste precious time? Our drones access even the most challenging areas with ease, reducing downtime and enhancing safety across your sites. We take the guesswork out of your projects by offering LiDAR, mapping, and inspection services so that your projects stay safe, on budget, and on time. Unmanned operator drone services, where technology meets safety, precision, and efficiency. Contact us today to elevate your operations. Yes, pun intended.
Enjoy Minot's finest authentic Mexican cuisine with a view at Mi Mexico. The rooftop patio is open and ready for you to enjoy a margarita or other cool refreshment along with genuine mouth-watering Mexican entrees. Mi Mexico, South Broadway.
There, we're back.
We're back.
Unmanned drone operating services. Such a fantastic ad.
Okay.
We've been saying this for a year.
You
but
decided
I love
to bring that back.
It's been too long, and always,
always,
a shout out to Me Mexico as well.
I went and I picked on you about that, and then
I had to say something. How?
You bring it back.
Of course.
I got you. I feel you there.
You
All
know
right.
that.
So Dunseith stuff. So basically, kind of wrapping up on that. We do have a couple more episodes that are going to come out. Talking. Obviously, the last one was the update on the lawsuit and the bombshell new state records found. The next one is actually going to be about the deputy AG kind of
a little more into that situation.
Pushing back on a North Dakota legislator when they began to look into Dunseith a little bit. So we actually have an episode that's going to talk about that and show an email thread there. So that's something that you'll want to watch.
Kind of what I was talking about a little bit ago.
A little bit, yep. And that's going to come out later today. And then tomorrow we'll have one that's going to come talk about North Dakota media.
Tragically, I had my real job yesterday and I couldn't be present at all of the interviews. Yeah. So I you won't see me in these ones specifically, but I did get a chance to stop by, say hi yesterday. So it was fun. But I had to go coach last night. That's why I couldn't. We're almost done with the season too. I'm taking a really quick divergent here.
So, and that was just practice, right?
Yeah.
When's your next game?
Next game's on Monday. We got 2 left. We play Nedros. That's like a rivalry.
Okay. So, and then the following Monday, or is it
Yep.
It seems like you used to have a game on Friday every once in a while.
We did, but not anymore.
Not anymore.
We
So
had
it's
2
Mondays.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Generally, junior high games are on Mondays. The fact we had 2 Friday games was kind of wild.
Okay, sweet. So Monday, city council night, the 6th, and then the 13th.
Yep. So also on top of that, that means October.
You'll still be at city council though, I'm sure.
Not this Monday.
You're not going to show up after the game?
No, it won't be.
I mean, you'll be done at like 10 o'clock, I'm sure, so you can show up.
Actually, to be fair, you're probably right.
I have
Maybe
something
will.
going on, but I'm planning on showing up afterwards.
All right, fine. I'll go to city council, all greasy and sweaty
post
post-football.
Be there at like 8:15.
I'll have my whole backpack and everything. You know what? I'm doing it now. I don't care. Just prove a point. I'm going to be at city council on Monday.
I think it's just a point. So, yeah. All right. We'll jump back into state stuff.
Yes. I'm sorry. I took that.
AG's press conference. Yeah. So how about this? There's this clip that we found.
Yes.
It's really epic. It's a joke,
Yeah.
but it's what was said in a press conference setting. And it is
just
crazy.
Yeah, a little background in the situation. There's a story out in Fargo from the beginning of this week where there was, I believe, at Fargo Davies High School or middle school, one of the two. There's been some issues with some students using Snapchat and AI to make some inappropriate pictures, that it's gotten to such a level that the Attorney General of the state of North Dakota had to come out to Fargo to hold a press conference on the situation. And at the very, very start of that press conference, he, thanks everyone for coming. His assistant attorney general, or the deputy attorney general, is there with him. The head of the North Dakota BCI is there. And this is where the interesting comment comes. He says, not only do I have the head of the BCI here, but he also has some of his henchmen here with them as well. And it's a little bit of a paraphrase. It's not a direct quote.
It's not a direct quote, but the word henchman was used, which is a interesting statement that is made there, especially in lieu of everything that's been going on and some of the allegations that are made in a lawsuit about the conduct of some of the BCI officers.
Yeah. And this doesn't just, this goes bigger than Dunseith too.
It does.
You've had people make accusations
right.
against BCI for being sketchy for years at this point. And, you can take some of that as being a, criminal investigation department. They have a liberty to take it to a different stage that some other people can. But also, this isn't just an isolated event. You've had this be, again, like I was saying, you've had sketchy allegations coming towards them for them either not doing their full job or doing too much of their job, whatever the case may be, for years at this point. And so to have the Attorney General refer to the agents of BCI as henchmen to their director is, I mean, we're probably blowing this out of proportion, whatever, but you know what? It's an open book, and it's a free shot that he's letting us take. So
yeah, I mean, the thing that we were talking about before when we were just talking about, like, should we mention this or not? And it's one of those deals where it's a joke where if I made it, they'd be like, that's wrong.
Yeah.
That's unprofessional of you. And then you have him make it, and
it's
we're
okay,
supposed to laugh at
it's
it.
the good old boys. They're all buddy. It's fine.
Yeah, well, Kyler's riled up
Getting
today.
worked up,
But I think it's I don't think it was a good comment that was made. A, and B, maybe it's a little bit telling.
It's one of those, you make a joke about something that, what's the old saying?
Well, my mom always said it
Humor.
this way, and it's a Bible reference, but she would always tell me, out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh.
There you go.
And so
Jokes, the best jokes always have a basis in reality.
yeah, okay.
Like-
Yeah. It's the almost same thought right
Yep.
there. And yeah. So who knows? Maybe there's a little bit of reality to it.
Which-
that's something that you have to figure out as the viewer.
Bigger picture, horrible situation going on in Fargo there.
Yeah.
Really weird thing.
Sad. We're not
Generally
covering that.
across the state, and like we even have the interview with Dr. Fall last week, the cell phone ban has been going phenomenally. From pretty much everyone I've talked to, the teachers I know and I've discussed it with, they love it. Teachers, I know out at Surrey have been fond of it here in town. We talked to Dr. Fall last week. He said everything has been going smoothly. From what I've gathered around the state, that's largely how the situation's been. Students don't really care too much. However, you have the situation going on in Fargo, which it's not necessarily just happening in school, but it's to what level they're taking some of these situations and making it into such a disappointing and disgusting kind of lane that they're taking it to.
Right.
And it's really weird because all of the people involved are minors. So it's a really tricky situation, and you don't like to see it. You don't like to see this kind of stuff take place. And
Not at all.
again, the basis of that press conference was frankly a good thing for the Attorney General to call and discuss where the state stands on this stuff. Like you can agree with it or not where the state stance is, but the fact for him to call it and make it clear, I'll give him props for that. I will give props where props are due, and I think that's deservedly so. However, I guess before we do that, do you have any final thoughts or takes on this? Because I was just going to transition.
Yeah.
Speaking of Fargo,
Other stuff going on in Fargo.
yes,
There's
something that we have discussed for almost as long as we've had this podcast. And we haven't necessarily.
This is something that Fargo's been looking at for a
for a
while
long
now.
time as well too.
Yep.
Yeah, Fargo has finally announced and voted on in a 3-2, which I have a point on that in a second, in a 3-2 vote to make their mayor position full time starting next year with their election. And
Wah, wah, wah.
yeah, that is something that we've discussed, being a
does it
potential.
happen?
Exactly. And more specifically, how can any city in the state do it if Fargo doesn't do it first?
Right.
So now that Fargo's finally taken that step,
Well, then Bismarck will do it.
yeah, and then
at
Grand
that
Forks.
point, anybody can do it. Once
Yeah.
Bismarck, any of the big six.
Yeah.
Wilson's probably not doing it, but
Yeah, but Minot, Bismarck, Grand Forks.
Minot's not doing it.
No, but
Not in
we would
current
have
climates.
we would have the opening then to have the possibility, because until, like, obviously, and I'm not even advocating that for Minot right now. I don't think that's the move, but seeing Fargo, and then if, like you said, if a Bismarck does it at that point, now all of a sudden you have a whole different opening.
Bismarck needed Fargo, so that's happened. Now in a couple years, Bismarck will do it, and then after that,
then the door opens for other places to start thinking
Right.
about it. And again, you're never going to see somewhere like a, or Rugby do it or anything like that. But places like us here in Minot, Dickinson, Grand Forks, maybe even like a Mandan and Williston or West Fargo. You could, because I always forget how big West Fargo is. It's just crazy. But those are places you could see really start to try to do that. And so I made a point earlier that I wanted to go back to. They voted on it in a 3-2 approval. How does Fargo City Council only have 5 total people on it?
Gotcha.
4, and they call them commissioners, city commissioners. So they have 4 commissioners and the mayor.
So Marie, Grand Forks will probably do it before Minot does it, but for us, maybe it's a little bit of pride that's creeping in. Don't want to admit that. Don't want to admit that we are going to actually follow Grand Forks.
Yeah.
We know we're going to follow Bismarck, but are we really going to follow all 3 of them?
Well, then
So,
then we're
you're
not
right.
we're not a trailblazer anymore at that
Yeah,
point.
not
Now we're
trailblazers.
following the lead.
We act like trailblazers. The only thing that we've been trailblazers on is sending a letter to the legislature about property tax and leaving the League of
I was
Cities.
going to say, then we followed through with it and left the League of Cities.
So yeah, those are the things that we've been trailblazers on. For better or for worse, I'm not getting into the depths of those topics. But as far as going and making policy decisions like that, liquor license, we've looked at other cities.
Yep.
Mayor, we're going to look at other cities before we do it. It's rightfully so.
And
We don't have 50,000 people.
next time we have our mayor on in the next couple
Yeah,
weeks
we'll
here
mention
coming
it.
up, we'll have to mention that to him without a doubt, just to get an idea on where he stands. And so also next summer being the election year for mayor in Fargo, Bismarck, and Minot too, you're going to see Fargo all of a sudden could be a contentious spot for mayor. Like it could have a really tight mayoral race, especially like I've heard rumors of Josh Bechet running, who is a top leader in the Democratic Party in the state legislature. You're going to have, I don't think the current mayor is running again, if I saw right. I could be wrong on that. Don't quote me, but I think I saw that.
Oh, I believe that's right, because I believe he was advocating for on his way out, so
Yep.
that way it wasn't for him himself.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the case. I think hey, if you guys watched our mayoral debate last year, how would you feel about us doing that? Should we head out to Fargo for a couple days?
Kyler wants to do this pretty bad.
Again, I'm just weird. I love debates, but it's a really interesting concept, and I think Fargo is the best place for this to take place to start. I think them being the front runner in this situation is going to be very telling to see how it works. They're a city of well over 100,000 people. Comparatively, your next biggest is going to be Bismarck and Bismarck-Mandan area, but again, only Bismarck's going to be the mayoralship that would be going full time, if any of them were. I think Fargo leading the race in this is going to be interesting. See what roles they have the mayor take on, see what all he decides to do for the council at that point. And then at that point, do they expand their commission? Do they go up to 7 people like Minot and I believe Grand Forks has as well? I just feel like that's 5 people from, and one other thing that's been advocated in Fargo a lot over this year too, is the re-implementation of the ward system, because just like Minot, Fargo city commissioners are all at large. Sorry, we're getting into the state weeds here today, guys.
Yeah.
They're all at large. So it's, 4 people run for city council. I guess probably 2 every other year, just similar to us and offsetting things from anywhere in the city. So and there's pluses and minuses. I love Minot's ward or free open system because we have 6 total spots for it. When you only have 4 in a place like Fargo, you have so many more people that those people have to represent now. And also you allow a lot less people to potentially get into the race, because if you have a very high recognizable person that, maybe comes from a well-organized place in the business community in Fargo, they're going to take that over. They're going to be able to put a lot more money into than some Joe Schmo from downtown. And all of a sudden you're going to have a blowout race coming at that point. And so then if you have the ward system, you force people from those neighborhoods to come back in. And so it's one of those situations where I see something that is good for Minot and having that open system, maybe not as good for a place like Fargo.
For sure. Obviously it is a commission style government down there. That's mentioned by Alderwoman Lisa Olson, which typically those are 5 people. So
I don't like that.
yeah,
I feel like that's not enough. And again,
and
that would probably take a lot more at that point. But so
my research says that they're typically 5 people. So I don't know.
Which that's probably not probably that is right. I assume I can't
I don't
doubt
know.
that by any stretch. And I feel like at that point, when you have a city that large of well over 100,000 people, it might be prevalent to move up to a 7-person representative government, or just.
But I believe that the commission,
they would have to change to a council form of government similar to us.
I don't know if they have to change, but it's part of how they run the city too, because they're each more involved in different areas of the city.
Yeah, they all have more different and individualized aspects and roles that they are like in a, similar but not a complete parallel to each other. Minot's different aldermen have different committee jobs.
Yep.
When you run for a city commissioner in Fargo, you are going to have even more of that at a more, I don't want to say controlled level, but you're going to be like the chair of that commission kind of thing, or that committee. And I just feel like that's, again, to circle back to one of my prior points, that's why it would be good to, if not expand it, move it back to the ward system out there.
Exactly. So Marvin is a full-time mayor in election for city manager. And that's kind of what our discussion was earlier this year when we had our own city manager and mayor position that we had to fill. Is it depends on how the city's set up still, but in some ways it is more that.
Especially in a place like Minot, or most places in the state where you have that part-time mayor and that city manager heavy style of government, where the city manager is the guy that effectively runs the city on the day-to-day basis. He just has to report to the council and the mayor. And again, I think our situation and our setup that we have going on right now is fine.
Right. And we see it in the county. I guess that's one thing that can be mentioned is the county is the commission style where they don't have a county administrator because they have the entire commission. But they could have a county administrator. So that's where you see the parallel to what's going on in Fargo.
That's a good point.
And so I believe they actually do have a city administrator, but that's an option based on if you want it or not.
That's a great point you made there to kind of re-bring that into a better point of view, I think. And one other thing that I don't even think it's necessarily relevant, but you're seeing the Civil Service Commission here in Minot try to expand from 3 to 5.
Yeah, right, which is just healthy.
Yes, and I think that's a great thing for them to do. Again, it's just you see expansion happening in some places where it's necessary. I think it could be necessary in a place like Fargo, but I don't live there, so what do I know?
So,
any final thoughts on the potential for Fargo mayor?
I don't know.
Do you like that? Do you like the full-time thing? Should we see it here?
Not now. I think we don't need a full-time mayor in Minot.
Yeah.
Right? Let's just be clear on that. Should there be,
I remember where we were going. I was going earlier.
This is controversy as well. Should we see raises for our city of those elected city officials? Personally, I think yes. I think we should, obviously.
I think we're on the same page with that.
Right now, there's tight budgets that they're working through, but I definitely think that that's something that should be done. If you were to go and have a full-time city manager or full-time mayor, then the position with the city manager must change, where you don't have the city manager for Minot specifically. In my viewpoint, you shouldn't have a city manager. You could keep your assistant city manager. That's my viewpoint.
That's how
of
you
it.
would see it.
That's how I see it coming out. It makes no sense to have a full-time mayor and a full-time city manager and a full-time assistant city manager in Minot.
Yeah, because if you make a good point, because again, for so much of the role the city manager does, if you were to make that mayor a full-time role, he would likely have to start taking on a lot of those responsibilities of the city manager. I mean, I guess you could have someone full-time just sit there in their office all day, but that's not going to be a productive way to do things.
Right.
They are going to have to take a lot more of a front-running situation in what's going on across the town. They're going to have to be even more involved with those department heads, whatever it might be.
And that's where I think even the city commission style might make more sense for there to be, if there was a setup, because I know that this is a very controversial topic. And I can't go from Minot, give a good perspective on Fargo when I'm not involved in their city government and I don't understand it fully. So I want to be very clear on that.
Yeah, we should have prefaced that earlier.
But the city commission style, I think I can see the full-time city commissioner or mayor working there better. I think I can see that working better.
In a setup
you
like that.
you have the city admin or whatever, and they're playing a role city manager, and they probably have an assistant city admin too. I don't know what their whole structure is, but it makes sense more because of how they're involved.
No, I think that's a good point, and it'll be interesting to see how this goes forward.
Yeah, it's going to have changes
Fargo's
throughout the state.
Yeah, Fargo's mayoral race next summer is going to be a very interesting thing to follow. I know Bismarck's as well is already has. You have the incumbent mayor; he's running for re-election. You have another guy that stepped in, so that's already becoming a contentious race, and we're not even through winter yet at this point. I'm not going to say contentious; it's going to be a contended race, and it's not even winter yet at this point. So I expect Fargo to pick up as well. My only thought other than that is, who's anyone else going to try to run for Minot's mayor race?
Yeah.
Or is it going to be a Janser and Josiah Royce head-to-head kind of thing?
Right, yeah.
Because we've talked so much about city council and who's going to run for that, what's going to happen with the 3 seats that are going to be open. Likely 1 or 2 are going to be vacated fully. And then you're going to have potentially Mike Hayes running for re-election, and it's going to be interesting to see what that field here in Minot looks like for the city council. But I think another interesting thing that we've not touched on very much is, does anyone that we don't know try to run for mayor next year?
Right. Well, that one's really hard to touch on at this point.
You're not wrong. It's incredible. It's purely speculative at this point. It is all not even gut feeling. It's just speculation at this stage, trying to decide and discern if you could even try to pick out a third person. But I think the dynamic, if there was a third person, could be really interesting. I'm not advocating for it. I think Mayor Janser is doing a great job. But I think that's a really interesting thing, because you're going to have a couple of very contentious races over the summer. It would, if Minot's isn't, but our city council is, I just think that'll be an interesting dynamic to look at.
Yeah. So about the salaries, because we mentioned that, and I'm struggling to get the exact numbers on spot, but it looks like Grand Forks, because where you say no pay raises, it looks like Grand Forks mayor makes $41,000 a year. That's what I'm seeing on the North Dakota League of Cities website. And the mayor of Minot, based off the latest information I'm able to find, that it's like around 18,000.
That sounds right from the numbers we've been told before.
So the amount that we pay our elected officials in Minot is just extremely low. For better or for worse, it's really low.
Yeah, and I'm nowhere advocating for it to be anywhere near what Fargo's is, where it's going to be like a 6-figure plus position now. But
you have Grand Forks that is at least 41,000. I'm getting a couple different numbers,
like,
but at least 41,000.
We're not saying that the mayor is worth getting $2,000 a month to do his job.
Right, exactly. That'd be only 25,000.
Yeah,
and then that's pre-tax, but
exactly.
it's only $24,000 a year at least. I
feel like I think okay, pure Kyler opinion right here.
Yeah.
Something we don't always do. I think the city council should probably be making in that like 24 a year range, where
and the mayor would be like
30 to 35, something like, or maybe 36. Make
even 20 and 30, whatever it is. They don't get paid enough for what they do.
For the amount of work that the alderman put in and the mayor put in, I don't believe that it's near. I don't think it's enough. Yeah, I don't want to say nearly enough, but I don't think it's enough. I think that they deserve a raise, and this is something that they will never. They won't, and B, it's extremely hard for a politician to advocate for, especially in a place like Minot, where we're struggling with tight budgets. You're not going to see them advocating for a pay raise, but I think these people deserve one.
Yeah, absolutely. So interesting topics around the state.
Gosh,
and in Minot,
I've had fun today. I woke up early this morning. I was ready to roll.
You watched what'd you watch?
I watched the city. So I woke up early this morning just so I could watch the city manager interview in full.
About communication, teamwork,
transparency.
And
again, just to circle all the way back to the start with that, I don't think they could make a wrong choice with any of the 3. I think any of them will do a good job. I think David and Lakefield and Tom Joyce would both be phenomenal at the position. And David Keys, again, like I was saying, he did a great job. I had no expectations. I didn't. So seeing him come in and be very personable, I think that was fantastic.
Yeah. Very good. All right. Well, that was a
was
that
fun.
was another episode here at
Fun.
Minot
Yeah,
Talk.
it's the two of us today killing it.
It was good. It was fun to get back to state topics.
It was,
So,
yeah. We've been hammering Minot a lot, so it was good to go on to more of a state level. This would have been the ND talk back in the day, but
yeah, maybe we should just go back and call it all that.
right, we might have to. Now it's winter time again, find something going. Now that Minot's calmed down a little bit from this crazy last
Yeah, I
year
think
that
we
we've
need to
had.
stick with it, Dan.
Yeah.
Thank you, Marie, for watching in.
Thanks
thank you for that
everybody for
info. Thank you
commenting,
to
yeah.
everybody else for being in the comments, for watching this episode. Be sure to like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook. Be part of that Dakotan community. Fun things are happening around here. We hope you join us for the ride. Again, a couple more episodes are going to be coming out today and tomorrow about Dunseith. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day.